He said, "Can you tell me?" Shaunaka, the great householder, approached Angirasa and asked, "Honorable sir, through what being known does all this become known? Is there something which I know and I know everything about everything? There's nothing that remains to be known because everything is over. Aim of my life is over, satisfied." Tasmai sahovacha dive vidya vidittavye iti smayat brahma vido vadanti paracha aparacha paracha eva paracha. So the great Angirasa said, the sage Angirasa said, to him he said, there are two kinds of knowledge to be known. He didn't say you should not know. He said there are two kinds of knowledge to be known. As the great knowers of the Supreme Brahman declare, there are two kinds of knowledge in this world to be known. What are the two kinds of knowledge? The higher knowledge and the lower knowledge. So when Shaunaka approaches Angirasa and says, "Tell me that which when known, nothing more remains to be known," Angirasa says, the great knowers of the Brahman, of the Supreme Reality, have declared there are two things to be known. One is the lower knowledge, the other is the higher knowledge. So why should we know the lower knowledge? To survive. Anything to do with our world, our life, everything will come to this. And the higher knowledge, then what is higher? Will come to the next one. So now don't be shocked. The next sloka gives you a complete list of lower knowledge. Don't be shocked. After having said Upanishad, having said that you need to know the lower and the higher, first Angirasa gives a list of what he thinks or what he knows is to be the lower knowledge, so that when that is eliminated, then there is only higher knowledge. So what does he say? Interesting. 5. Sloka 5. In India we say 5. So 5. Tatra para rigvedo yajurved tatra apara. Lower knowledge. What is lower knowledge? According to Upanishad, which is Shruti from the Vedas. Rigvedo yajurvedaha samavedo atharvaveda shiksha kalpo vyakaranam niruktam chando jyotisham iti atha parayaya. What is the lower knowledge? All the Vedas are lower knowledge. Does it mean that you shouldn't study? Because this is also part of the Vedas. That's why they said it has to be known also. Because when you know, then you know that. So, but actually the lower knowledge is the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda, all the Vedas from which we derive our knowledge. Because why? It's like explained in the end. And also the Veda Angas, which means the extension of the Vedas, which is Kalpo Vyakarana Nirukta Chando Jyotisham, which means phonetics. When you learn Sanskrit, it's important to learn phonetics. Also in the Vedas, phonetics. Ritual, what rituals to perform for various things, including even meditation is a kind of ritual. And grammar, by grammar, because with grammar, if you look, there is a complete system in ancient knowledge which is called Tarka Shastra. And for Tarka, meaning the science of argument, argumentative Indian, the science of argument, Tarka. Now if you have to do Tarka, you have to know grammar. Because one word has so many grammatical constructions and so on. And then etymology of the word, metrics, and astronomy. All these are considered to be the lower knowledge, starting from the Rig Veda. The Rishi Angirasa says all this is lower knowledge. But as proclaimed before, two things have to be known, the lower and the higher. The lower to be known to understand its limitations, and the higher to find the truth. So then what is higher knowledge? The same sloka says, iti. After having said this is the lower knowledge, iti says, atha parayaya tad aksharam adhigamyate. That alone is the highest knowledge, the higher knowledge, which when understood, one attains the indestructible, imperishable reality. That which cannot be destroyed. Akshara is very interesting in Sanskrit. The alphabet is called Akshara, not alphabet. Alphabet is because alpha, beta, and so on. Akshara is the name given to the alphabet, which means indestructible, starting with A. So, the Rishi Angiras tells this man, listen, all this is lower knowledge. So he said, then what is higher knowledge? Higher knowledge is that by which the imperishable, supreme reality is comprehended. That is the higher knowledge. Which means, even if you know all this, if you don't apprehend that which is the essence of being, it's still lower knowledge. Not that you shouldn't study. If you don't study, how do you know? This is part of the Atharva Veda. No, not saying throw all your Vedas away into the sea. No. It means that unless and until the ultimate, the supreme reality is understood, all this is lower knowledge. Well, there have been great sages who touched the immeasurable, indestructible without going through all this also. Possible. Why not? But for most of us, people like you and me, this is a good guide to understand ultimately that. Although, per se, it is lower knowledge. I hope any clarification on this? Or shall we proceed? Proceed. Then comes the next section. After having said the highest knowledge is that by which one grasps the imperishable, it tries to describe the imperishable, source of things which cannot be perceived with our senses. So what does he say? Tad yat tad adrishyam agrahyam shushukmam sad avyayam yad bhutayonim paripashyanti dhira. Yat tad adrishyam agrahyam agotram avarnam achakshushodram tad apanipadam nityam vibhum sarvagatam shushukmam tad avyayam tad bhutayonim paripashyanti dhira. That imperishable reality, knowing which is the higher knowledge, is ungraspable. Maybe it reveals itself when all grasping ends. Ungraspable, no, without a family, without a caste, without sight, without hearing, without hands or feet, eternal, all-pervading, omnipresent, exceedingly subtle. That is the undecaying, which the wise perceive as the source of all beings. That which is ungraspable. Because if you grasp it, then it must be something to do with your finite mind. Also, it has no family, neither born nor dying, so no father and no mother. No caste. This is specifically mentioned because in India, today not so much, but there was this thing about the caste system. Some people belong to the lower caste and some people belong to the higher caste, and the highest and the lowest. And the lowest cannot come near the higher and so on. Untouchable. So says the Rishi that Supreme Reality had no family and no caste and no creed. It's very interesting to note that traditionally, when a monk was ordained into the order of sannyas, renunciations, a fire was lit and he's supposed to break his sacred thread, which is a symbol of his being of upper caste, and thrown into the fire. Means now I'm free. So, says there is no caste, there is no family, there is no origin. It's the ultimate supreme reality common to all. Eternal, all-pervading, omnipresent, exceedingly subtle. That is the undecaying essence of the universe, which the wise perceive in all things. Not as if because of having said this definition is hiding somewhere. The wise perceive it in everything, outside and inside. Because ultimately that's all that exists. All other existence is like a cinema, a film showed on the screen, projected. Now there's a beautiful description here, very metaphoric description of what they said before. Torna navihi srijate grinate cha yatha prithivyam aushadayas sambhavanti yatha satah purushat klesho mani tatha aksharat sambhavati havishvam. As a spider ascends forth and draws in its thread, and as herbs grow on the earth, as the hair grows on the head, and the body of a living on the head of a living person, so from the imperishable arises this universe. Here the imperishable is metaphorically compared to a spider which spins its web and puts it out, and then when he wants withdraws it back. So there is no web but the spider, only the spider. But temporarily you see the web. And in that web, so many insects are trapped. So we are in that kind of web, trapped in some way. And, okay. And the Rishi says, it's like herbs growing on the earth naturally. Like the hair that grows on the head. The same way the universe comes forth from that imperishable and goes back to it in the end. So what you see is the appearance, and what is the reality is the supreme indestructible being. Which means for all the different things that you see, there's only one immeasurable being. And once, if someone even touches a little bit of that, he or she cannot distinguish and set anybody outside their circle. Everybody is the same because we're all from the same source and we go back to the same source. So, why does he say that? Ungraspable. If it is ungraspable, what are we doing here? Can you grasp the ungraspable? It's not possible. So what are we doing? Why all the teachings and the sadhanas and everything that we do? When you say ungraspable, you know how we grasp things? When we grasp, first we use our five senses. First we see something. See how, I was about to say something, but let me see. You see a beautiful rose in the garden. Okay. And you first, what is the first step? I see, my eyes. And then I feel. And then I smell. And if it's something eatable, I also taste. And then I want to grasp. Now, the problem is not at looking at the beauty of the rose. The problem begins when I want to pluck it and put it in my pocket. This is where the problem comes, the grasping. If I don't grasp, it's beautiful out there. But no, it has to be in my pocket. But then when you cut it and fix it, it dries. It's no more the same thing. Apparently, the great Irish but English playwright George Bernard Shaw was supposed to be very fond of flowers. So a young journalist went to interview him, and she said she couldn't find a single flower or any flowers inside the house, in a vase, nothing. So she said, "We heard that you love flowers, but I don't see any flowers here." So he opened the window, said, "Oh, in the garden, I love flowers, they're there." And he said, "I also love little children, I don't cut their heads and put them in vases inside my house." So the problem is when you grasp, not when you see. So that which is ungraspable means when you are free of being caught by the senses, with the eyes, with the ear, and see that what is external is a temporary affair and what is internal is the essence of it. And then when you leave it, then you touch that which is ungraspable. That doesn't need any eyes to see or ears to hear. In fact, another Upanishad says, "Chakshusha na pashyati," that which I cannot see